Carl Jung made one observation in 1928 that most modern self-help still refuses to accept. Confidence is not always real. Sometimes it is a costume. He noticed something strange about his most successful patients. Their confidence did not come from within. It came from a part of them performing a role. Jung called this performance the persona, a mask we wear so well we forget we are wearing it. And underneath, an archetype is doing the acting. This video will show you which archetype inside you is performing for approval, and why your confidence may not be yours at all. Stay with me. By the end you will see your own face differently. Carl Jung was 47 when he first understood this pattern. He had treated hundreds of polished, accomplished, articulate men. They looked unbreakable on the outside. Yet in his consulting room they would cry without knowing why. They had everything they thought confidence required, and still felt empty inside. Jung began listening past their words. He noticed each of them was playing a character, a figure their psyche had built for survival. He called these figures archetypes, universal inner patterns shared by all humans. Each archetype carries gifts. Each archetype also wears a mask. When you confuse the mask with yourself, your confidence becomes performance. You stop expressing who you are. You start auditioning for the audience inside you. This was Jung's revolutionary insight. Most confidence is not strength, is a costume plea for recognition that the unconscious never received. Picture a stage inside your mind. The lights are on, you did not choose the play, yet you have been performing it for decades. The audience is invisible. Sometimes it is a parent, sometimes a teacher, sometimes the version of yourself you were told to become. The actor on stage is one of 12 archetypes, and whichever one steps forward when you need confidence is the one performing for approval. Most modern teachers will tell you to fake it until you make it. Jung would have called this dangerous. You are reinforcing the mask, not the self. What Jung discovered is that real confidence does not perform. It rests. It does not need the audience because it does not remember being abandoned by it. Let us examine the archetypes most often caught performing. See which one wears your face when you walk into a difficult room. The hero performs confidence by conquering. He believes he must win to be loved. His confidence is loud, fast, decisive. Underneath, he is terrified of being ordinary. The hero archetype is useful when life demands action, but when it performs for approval, it turns every situation into a battle. Even peace becomes a war to be won. The sage performs confidence by knowing. She must be the smartest voice in the room. Her confidence sounds calm and articulate. Underneath, she is terrified of being wrong. The sage archetype is useful when life demands wisdom, but when it performs for approval, it lectures instead of listens. Knowledge becomes a wall, not a window. The caregiver performs competence by serving. He must be needed to feel valuable. His competence looks like generosity. Underneath, he is terrified of being unwanted. The caregiver archetype is useful when others suffer, but when it performs for approval, it disappears the self. He gives until there is nothing left to recognize. The ruler performs confidence by controlling. She must manage every detail to feel safe. Her confidence sounds like authority. Underneath, she is terrified of chaos. The ruler archetype is useful when life demands order, but when it performs for approval, it suffocates everyone around it. Power becomes a cage with the king inside. The lover performs confidence by enchanting. He must be desired to feel real. His confidence looks like charm. Underneath, he is terrified of being unseen. The rebel performs confidence by refusing. She must defy to feel free. Her confidence sounds like independence. Underneath, she is terrified of belonging. Each archetype has a gift. Each archetype also has a wound. The wound is what performs. The gift is what waits underneath. Jung's word for this hidden waiting was the self. Not the ego, not the role. The whole person you were before the audition began. Stay with me. The next part is where most people first recognize themselves on the stage. Think of the last time you felt confident. Truly notice the body memory of it. Was it loud or was it quiet? If your confidence has volume, it is probably a performance. Real confidence has presence, not noise. It does not need to be witnessed to exist. If your confidence collapses when someone disapproves, it was borrowed. The audience giveth and the audience taketh away. That is the contract of the mask. If your confidence depends on a specific role, it is archetypal performance. Strip the title, the success, the audience. What remains is the part that is actually yours. Jung wrote in his Red Book about a similar experience. He encountered figures inside himself who demanded to be heard. He did not silence them, he listened. He realized each figure was a part of him that had been performing without his knowledge. Once he listened, the performance softened. The archetype returned to its rightful role. This is what he meant by individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who you truly are, not who the audience trained you to be. Comment below one word that describes the archetype you suspect is performing in your life. Hero, sage, caregiver, ruler, lover, rebel. Just one word. Reading your answer will not change you, but naming the performer is the first crack in the costume. Now let us look at the principle Jung built around this discovery, because identifying the archetype is only the first step. Jung said that whatever we do not consciously integrate, we unconsciously embody. The archetype performing for approval is not your enemy. It is the part of you you abandoned. When you were young, certain expressions of yourself were rewarded. Others were ignored or punished. The psyche is intelligent. It promoted the parts that got applause. Over years, that part grew into a full archetypal performance. It became your confidence. It became your professional identity. It became what people praised. But every archetype it overdeveloped has a shadow. And the shadow is the parts of you that did not get applause. The quiet ones, the strange ones, the ones you forgot. Jung's principle is simple. The performer is exhausted because it is doing the work of the whole self. The shadow is hungry because it has been waiting in the wings. Real confidence is the moment all the parts step on stage together. Not just the polished archetype. The awkward parts too. The unfinished parts. Most modern teachers miss this entirely. They train you to amplify your archetype. Jung would have said this only deepens the split. You become more impressive and less real. The path is not to perform better. It is to perform less. To let the parts you have hidden share the stage with the parts you have rehearsed. Stay with me. What I'm about to share is the practice Jung used with patients who recognize themselves in this pattern. Tonight, sit quietly for 10 minutes with one simple inquiry. Ask yourself, which archetype shows up when I need to feel confident? Do not analyze. Just notice the figure that arrives. Watch how it stands. Listen to how it speaks. Recognize it as the actor you have been hiring. Then ask one more question. What part of me am I afraid to show when this archetype is performing? Wait. Let the answer surface. The answer will not be loud. There rarely is. The disowned parts speak in whispers because they have been silenced for years. Listen anyway. Once you have heard them, do not try to fix anything. Do not change roles. Simply write down what you learned in one sentence before sleep. Repeat this for 7 nights. By the end, the performer will soften. Not because you defeated it, because you finally introduced it to the rest of you. This is what Jung called integration, not the death of the archetype, the marriage of it with the self. Imagine if Jung were sitting across from you right now. He would not be impressed by your confidence. He would be curious about who is performing it. He would lean forward and ask one question. Whose approval are you still trying to earn through this role? He would wait for your honest answer. Then, he would tell you something most modern teachers will not. Your confidence is not the problem. The audience inside you is the problem. Once you stop performing for an audience that may not even still exist, the archetype returns to being useful. It becomes a tool, not a master. The hero stops conquering and starts protecting. The sage stops lecturing and starts listening. The caregiver stops disappearing and starts choosing. The ruler stops controlling and starts holding. The lover stops seducing and starts loving. The rebel stops resisting and starts creating. Each archetype free from approval becomes a gift instead of a costume. Jung believed that the goal of human life was not confidence, it was wholeness. And wholeness is quieter than confidence has been told to be. Wholeness does not enter the room with a flag. It does not demand the audience. It does not collapse when the applause stops. It simply is. So if Jung saw your confidence today, he would not be unkind. He would only ask one final question, which archetype is performing, and what would happen if it rested? You are not the role. You are not the costume. You are not the actor or the audience. You are the awareness that can finally let them go home. Tonight before sleep, name the archetype performing in your life. Write it down once. Beside it, write the part of yourself it has been hiding. Tomorrow, watch how the performer behaves. Notice when it walks on stage. Notice when it tries to be praised. Just notice. The work begins in the noticing. The archetype code is the work of meeting yourself, all of yourself, not just the version trained to receive applause. Welcome to the path. If this gave you a new lens on your own confidence, subscribe and stay with us. The next video will show you the archetype hiding in your shadow. What you perform is what others see. What you integrate is what you become, and what Jung saw in his patience, he sees in you. He is still waiting for you to rest.